Hey guys, it's John from Pen and Perfection. We are doing a Q&A with VeloCore Performance, and I've had some questions come in from their followers. I'm going to get straight into it. Some really interesting stuff that's come up. Some stuff that I'm probably going to answer with a question or something to think about, but obviously it's so dependent on being able to see what's going on. But let's get into it and let's see what we can find. So first question is from Stephanie, which is, I always wonder what I can do about pins and needles in my hand, variable and often wind direction related. And there's also another question from Phil that comes in and says, I get numb fingers and thumbs when riding, and I've had a bike fit, and I don't feel like the pressure on my hands is that great. So I'm going to kind of put both of those in the same answer. If it's wind related, if it actually has been related, then that makes me think there's too much mass going through the hands. Same as like when you go uphill, suddenly your mass goes back towards the bike. So then I'd be thinking, okay, well, either we need to get mass off the hands through saddle setback, or bringing the reach back, or bringing the bars up. If it's wind related as well, I'm going to go nuance and say sometimes, you're pushing harder when you're going into the wind, things can change. So can answer that without seeing it really. But generally speaking, pins and needles is either going to be a mass through the upper body, an instability in the lower body, which is meaning the upper body is having to brace harder, or, and this is where I wonder with Phil as well, it's just a contact point ergonomics issue. So it's just physically how you're interacting with the brake hoods, which can be the bar shape, the bar width, or the hood rotation. So I would check all of those, make sure that nothing's bizarre's going on, potentially look at the handlebar shape, have a think about it. Sometimes it's good to like unwrap the bar tape and just look at the ergonomics of the handlebar, whether it's kind of going in and there's a big dip, whether it's a really round aggressive bar or it's nice and curved. But yeah, I would say first step is just think, have you got too much weight on your hands? Does the weight increase when you're pushing harder? Does it change when you're going uphill? Or peel off the bar tape and just start having a think about how your hand is touching the handlebar and whether that could be the cause. And if you've got someone that can loan you a bike with a different handlebar, potentially try that. Okay, second question is, I've never been bike fitted, tend to set up the ideal saddle height and off I go. Ride a full suspension e-mountain bike and carbon hardtail. Never had any issues on either, but keen to find out if there's an advantage to getting bike fitted. Plus, as both the bike geometry differs quite a bit, does this matter? Genuine question and intrigued. Mountain bike fitting is such a fascinating one. Because like I started off as a mountain biker before I got into road cycling. Never had a bike fit, never really thought about it too much, though did think about it a lot in terms of handlebar width, constantly changing stem length to tweak stuff, constantly tweaking suspension, always changing tires. So I think mountain bikers are really good intuitively at thinking about how bikes handle, but do they care as much about how the bike pedals? Is that the fun bit of mountain biking? Are you standing up and moving around so much? Are you so distracted by the terrain that you're not thinking about it? And I would argue, yes, like I jump on my mountain bike, and if I'm riding off road, I'm not thinking too much about the fit, to be honest, because there's other things that are distracting me. So when I would say that the fit of mountain biking becomes really important is when you want to spend a long period on it. Right, if you're going out for an hour and you've got to drop a post, you can chuck that seat up and down. As long as the saddle height's somewhere ballpark, you're probably going to find reasons behind the setup that outweigh the comfort, because you want to be able to enjoy going around corners or over jumps. What becomes interesting in terms of a challenge is when you get riders that can't just interact with a mountain bike and be pain free. And then we start looking at the compromises to handling the bike off-road up and down versus the comfort and ergonomics. So that's generally like bar width. Some riders just can't tolerate wider bars, even though wider bars are very much on trend, but also make a lot of sense for riding off-road. Handlebar sweep, ergonomic grips, all of these elements that have advantages but have disadvantages when you're trying to control the bike off-road. So complicated question to answer. I do get a lot of mountain bikers in, and there's always something that we can do to improve how they ride, whether it's through foot stability, whether it's through saddle height optimization. There's always something, but I will say, like, you're not alone. Like, a lot of mountain bikers don't get bike fits and they're perfectly happy just because of the nature of mountain biking. It is different. But yeah, it's a fascinating one, and one that I spend a lot of time thinking about and chatting about is how can we as bike fitters serve mountain bikers better. So what we do is we have like an inclinating riser, so we can actually test what it's like going uphill and downhill. If your preference is more how does the bike feel when I go up and down, and you're not that bothered about the flat, versus other people, bike packers, they're actually more interested in pedaling a long way and they want to do it on the level. So yeah, it's complicated. Okay, so next question we've got a few actually, and they're all about arch support and insoles, knee pain, ankle pain, both sides, one side. Arch support, oh, and then barefoot shoes come up in this one as well. Arch support is, some people just don't seem to need it and they're absolutely fine. And they're just wired a certain way so that their brain can talk to their hips, can talk to their knees, can talk to their feet, and they can just get away pedaling optimally. There's a really interesting debate as to whether we should be supporting the arches inside your shoes versus you should be strengthening your feet. My general take on it is, if you can make your life easier on the bike, insoles, support, wedging, anything like that, that's great, but that doesn't excuse you from not strengthening your feet and your hips and your knees off the bike, right? We're just putting a crutch in, which makes things feel awesome, and then you need to go away and you need to go, right, how do I make sure that my feet don't get lazy, they don't get weak? Because cycling, you just don't use your feet, and the longer you ride your bike, the weaker your feet are going to become because you're not having to use them in any meaningful way. Whereas obviously if you're running in them, or you're doing, you know, burpees or something, you have to constantly move around on your feet and use those muscles in your feet, you're going to get stronger feet. So I would say insoles are important. They really can make or break some people's comfort, symmetry, alignment, but you've got to be doing the off the bike stuff as well. And well, with the barefoot shoes, it's a really interesting one. There's like a kind of internal monologue that constantly goes like, okay, well, if we're talking about minimalism off the bike, putting barefoot shoes on, trying to strengthen our feet, should we be doing the same on the bike? And I totally see a load of people that are like, I don't want any arch support in my cycling shoes. But I would say you're at an unfair advantage for your feet, because your feet cannot adapt to the ground as effectively when they're fixed in place, which is where arch support and wedging kind of takes away that need to. So if you are into the I'm barefoot forever. Even if you're like, no, I wear barefoot shoes, I don't want any kind of arch support, don't worry about it as much on the bike. If it feels better, it feels better. Just make sure that you're doing the work off the bike to strengthen and condition your feet. And then final one would be, what are the most common mistakes from people and their setup? And if you know you have a body asymmetry, how can you deal with this? I don't think there is a common setup issue other than setting, or someone sets your saddle height to a certain height and you just leave it because you feel that's the way it should be done. Or you put your cleats, they get set up by a bike shop, or you buy some shoes and you just put your cleats in the middle and you go, that's just the way it is. Or you go, I'm going to do it by a certain number, and then that is the number. If it feels wrong, trust yourself that it's wrong. You might not be able to figure out why it feels wrong, because there's loads of stuff going on in the bike that can kind of counter out each other, and unless you step away and look at it, it's quite hard to actually feel yourself. But if you feel like it's not right and you can't pedal smoothly, or you feel like there's a lot of pain going on somewhere, don't just stick at it because that's the formula that you read online. That's usually the number one mistake people have, is they just go, oh, I got set up with the saddle height at the bike shop and I've left it. That's the number one mistake. Other than that, there's loads of mistakes that people do, but I don't think anybody does it for a reason. They always do it because they're trying to solve one problem, and they just don't have the ability to change everything, right? Because they're not in a bike fit studio, loads of adjustable components. And then the other one was, if you have a known body asymmetry, how can you deal with this? Depends what the asymmetry is, right? If it's structural or functional. So if it's functional, that would be like muscle length, muscle activation, muscle strength in the gym, off the bike. That's the best way to deal with it. Any other ways of dealing with it, you're not dealing with it, you're just appeasing it. Whereas if it's structural, way harder, because of the practicalities of the bike. So usually that would be leg length difference, or like a broken collarbone that's been pinned or something. So the first step would be understanding what your asymmetries are, and then pragmatically thinking, right, well, what would make sense for this to work, right? If you've got one leg that is diagnosed shorter than the other, and you're getting issues, like let's say when we're pressure mapping, we're seeing more weight on the left side of the saddle and the left leg is shorter, and we know for sure that leg is shorter because it's been broken in the past or something, then we go, let's put something underneath that foot to make it longer. Whereas if you're not sure and you just start playing around with stuff, that's usually when you kind of start to spiral into strange asymmetries. So yeah, thinking about the pragmatic, all the information that you've got as to why you think there might be asymmetries, but like I'm going to say 80% of the time it comes from you, your daily life. You sit on your phone like this, you drive your car like this, or you sprained your left ankle when you were 5, and your body's never really reset from that. And the best way of doing that is gaining more body awareness, getting better at activating your muscles. So yoga, Pilates, Feldenkrais, strength conditioning, anything that involves you having to use your body and really think about your form, is the best way to get rid of asymmetries. Sometimes even if you've got structural differences, the best way you can do it is to work on it off the bike. And then the other limitation is sometimes we just can't actually do something with the bike. So let's say if you've got an asymmetry in your upper body and you're on a mountain bike, it's actually very difficult for you to hold your bars not symmetrically. Whereas on a drop bar bike, you can just hold your bars slightly further back. So yeah, sometimes it just comes down to the practicalities. Or you're in flat pedals and we can't put like a cleat shim underneath this. There's only so much that we can do, versus just taking a cobbler or something. So yeah, sometimes sometimes you just can't do it. But yeah, I would say in answer to that, I know I've waffled a little bit, is figure out pragmatically why the asymmetry might be occurring, and then think about the best possible steps to do it. And I would always get a second or third opinion on any kind of asymmetry. If we think that there's an asymmetry and we haven't got like a strong line of evidence, we're always saying, let's get more evidence, basically. Like, did your physio say they've got a leg length difference? Did you break your leg when you were 10? Okay, pretty obvious. Whereas if we're going, maybe there is, maybe there isn't, then we'll go, right, go see a physio or go see a chiropractor and get another set of eyes on this first before we do any kind of compensation. So we want to be really sure, and you want to be really sure as well. Anyway, I think that's all the questions. So hopefully that's helped. I will just touch on this one from Jackie, is I suffer from knee pain. This is part of the insoles ones. It's almost always to do with the feet or the hips. So yeah, strength conditioning on the hips generally, strength conditioning on the feet, and arch support. Leave them in there. Um, but yeah, it's very rarely actually the knee that's the problem. Um, anyway, yeah, let us know if you've got any other questions, and yeah, hopefully this helps.